All right, welcome back to the next part in building our owls. So the next weave that I teach my students is the tabby weave. The tabby is a bit simpler than the twill, which I did before. You can go to the previous video if you want to see how to do this one. This is a single strand weave, whereas this one is double. I usually grab about a double arm's length, so a wingspan worth of yarn for this one. Obviously, as you continue advancing up, I go about 3/4 of the way up the loom with the students. They can choose to do smaller amounts or bigger amounts if they want parts of their owl to be like a larger amount of tabby, but I wouldn't recommend going too much more than a double arm's length. I do find my students then get tangled, okay? Okay, so to start, we are going to, with the tabby, always start on either this side or this side. So if you remember back to the twill, you can end in the middle and then you go back 2 strings and start there and overlap. With this one, to keep it simpler, I always start on the left or the right. All right, we're gonna start by tying a knot because we need to secure the yarn. And in this one, the yarn, the 2 pieces of colored string, the weft strings, they tie around each other. It's different for the tabby. So for the tabby, we are going to pick up the one on the left and we are going to place it underneath like this. Now I need a little bit more than this to comfortably tie a knot, so I'm going to pull it a bit. All right, and I am simply going to cross it over like this. Okay, so I've created that loop. All right, I'm going to pick it up and push the tail through. Okay, so I've wrapped around the back and then through that loop, and I'm going to pull down like that. Now if you tie your knot and the side of the string that you're going to weave with, which is the big side, is like this on this side, then you're great. Okay, you're good to go. From there, you just secure this knot and then you continue weaving. However, I want to show you something. So if your students happen to, or students, if you happen to, tie your knot this way, okay, where you cross it over, again, you cross it over, push the tail through, and when you pull your knot down, notice the short side is on the side that I want to weave, and the side with the long string is over here. That's not ideal, but it's an easy fix and you don't have to change the knot. You're just going to do that again. Okay, so cross over one more time, push the tail through the hole, pull it down, and then it's on this side. And again, this is the back of our owl facing you right now. So even though there's a knot right there, you won't see it later, and you're good to go. So let's continue from there. Okay, so I've slid, I've slid my knot down, so it's on top of my previous weave. I'm going to find the end. Okay, and on the first row, and the first row only, it doesn't matter on the second string if you start under or over. The knot is already secured around here, so that's the first warp string taken care of. We're going to go on to the second one. I always just like to start under. Okay, so I'm going to pick up string number 2 and I'm going to go under. All right. The pattern for this weave is simply under, over, under, over, under, over, and continuously like that. Okay, so I'm going to go under, I'm going to go over the 3rd string, and I'm going to pick up the 4th one and place the tail under. Okay, so you can see under, over, and I'm going to go all the way across like that, picking up every 2nd string. Okay, notice that I did not pull this through every single time I went under a string, under a warp string, or sorry, a warp string. Okay, you're going to be able to weave a lot quicker if you go all the way across and then pull through. Okay, now I want you to watch very carefully here. When I pull this row through, I'm going to stop about there. So if you see this little arc or this bubble, okay, that's what we want to leave before we push the string down. we don't want to see this. Notice what's happening over here. Okay, this warp string is starting to get tightened this way. And we want to keep our yarn chunky, okay? Keep it nice and chunky. So when you're pulling through, go to about there, that's it, okay? And slide down. And I have students all the time tell me, oh, it's going to be loose. It's not going to be loose, don't worry, okay? Now, we're going to start row number 2. All we need to do is look at the last string right here. It went under. So to start on this string, we're going to go over. Okay, so under, over, and then under. And we continue that pattern, under, over, under, over. Okay, pull your row through. Leave that bubble. Slide down. The first few rows might not look, sometimes kids say, oh, it looks funny, it's not right. It is right. If you just check your pattern, you'll be fine. Okay, so under to end. So my string needs to go over. Okay, keep the bubble, slide it down. Notice my white strings have not moved at all. If your white strings do start to move, it's an easy fix. Okay, you go, oh, that's not right. Okay, pull it back a little, loosen it all the way to here. Okay, and then adjust and continue. Okay, I'm going to do one more row and then I'm going to show you a few things. Okay, so I'm just going to slide this up so you can see it better. Now, what I want you to notice is that even though my pattern is going under, over this way, if you're doing this weave properly, your pattern will also go under, over this way. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what it looks like if your pattern is off. Okay. So under. Okay. So if you see right there, I went over. Okay. A lot of students don't notice the first one when it becomes an error, but now I'm just going to continue without making errors and show you what it looks like. You have to keep an eye out for when your pattern looks like this. Okay, so if I slide this up, okay, and you look carefully, these strings, these pieces of yarn right here are doing the same thing. They're both over. Okay, you'd also see that for the rest of this row. Okay, so they're both over, they're both under, they're both over, they're both under. Again, there's no mistakes in weaving that we can't fix if we just keep an eye out for them happening. We're just going to reverse to where we made the mistake. Okay, and then continue from there. Okay, and slide down. Now, I want to show you one last thing before I sort of skip to the end of this green yarn. I do find that students really, it's helpful for them to use one of these. So this is just a plastic tapestry needle. I find large sets on Amazon, and you can do one of two things. You can either just slide the yarn through like this, and I like to just hold it. So some people are good with that. You just pinch it like this and hold it, or some people do need to tie a simple knot. Just don't tie this too tight. Okay, secure it like that so you can get it off after. And then this will help. Okay, so ending under right there. So I'm just going to place my tapestry needle on top and then do this. And then pull through. When you're getting towards the end of your piece of yarn, you want to make sure that you stop with enough string, enough yarn to tie it off. So if I went this way, I might be able to, but I think it's safer to just end now. I always end on the sides. Okay, and to tie a finishing knot, to secure this, I'm just going to pull it up like this so that you can see. Okay, I am going to, it's underneath right now, I'm going to wrap around this last string and go back under one more time so that I create a loop. Okay, so I've created a loop. And we're going to take the tail, and we're going to push it through that loop. Okay, and I like to put my finger right here so that I don't pull on the strings over here and tighten it up. So I like to just hold it right there and then tug. It doesn't have to be crazy tight. And then I can trim that off. Okay. All right. So you can go forward to the next video. I will complete the owl about 3/4 of the way up the loom. I tell my students that you can now have the freedom to choose your design as you're making your owl with whatever colors you want. You can continue with the twill, or you can continue with the tabby. I also have some students, and I have a playlist called Weaving Challenge, that choose to try and teach themselves some more difficult weaving patterns or create wings and do an interlock in the middle. So I will always also show that eventually.